Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly setup of movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mac. Back with me is Matt, is Mike. What did I say? Mike, Matt?
Mac?
Am
I
I
didn't know
Matt or
you
am I Mike?
changed your name since last week's show, but
Did you not get the memo?
no, you didn't let me know ahead of time. I didn't know I was dealing with a Mac. We'd have to change a lot of the website. Uh, yes, my name is Matt. His name is Mike, in case you didn't know. This is episode 474. It is February the 13th, 2025. I am back from vacation. It's both of us in the virtual studio once again, and we're bringing you a new show this week.
Yes, welcome back. Did you enjoy your time away from the microphone?
I mean, I never want to be away from the microphone for too long, but I did enjoy my time. It was good catching up, and despite the temperatures being in the 30s, um, it was a fun time. I got to be in falling snow for the first time in 22 years, so that was kind of nice.
So both Fahrenheit and Celsius were at even then?
No, that's not how those work.
Yeah, it is 30 plus 32 minus 32.
Anyway, whatever. But yes, it was very, very cold and it snowed, but it was all right. But I'm back now, just in time to do another episode of this show. So let's get into it.
Yep. Let's go right into the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is Die with a Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. At two, I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen. At least he's admitting it this time. At three, Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA. Coming in at four, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. And rounding out your top five, a bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi.
Yep.
As for your Billboard 200, your albums chart, at number one is, of course, The Weeknd with Hurry Up Tomorrow. Here's where it lands. Here's where it debuts at number one.
Yep.
Coming in at two, Debí Tirar Más Fotos by Bad Bunny. At three, SOS by SZA. Coming in at four, GNX by Kendrick Lamar. And running out your top five, Hit Me Hard, Hands Soft by Billie Eilish.
So yeah, the weekend is likely to stay at number one probably for another week. I can't imagine any of the new releases this week will take its place. But keep an eye on that SZA record because it's probably going to stay around as she added another three songs to it in a deluxe version of SOS that came out this past weekend. So yeah, more SZA.
More Lisa.
Lisa.
Isn't that the deluxe Lisa SOS?
Lana.
Lana.
Lisa is the artist who used to be member of Blackpink, who is
Blackpink.
now solo doing solo stuff.
Yes, all together now. One, two, three. I know what I'm talking about. If
Sure.
you didn't like any of those songs, we have new releases,
Yep.
starting with Love and Hyperbole by Alessia Cara.
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
It's not hyperbole. That's like the super if the Super Bowl evolved.
Yeah, to the Hyperbole.
That's not a thing. Hyperbole.
Uh, there's also Horror by Bartees Strange.
Hmm.
Constellations for the Lonely by Doves. Uh, Phonetics on and Own by Horse Girl. Better Wonder by Cristrels. Sleepless Empire by Lacuna Coil. Oceanside Countryside by Neil Young. Yes, that Neil Young.
Yes, this is a apparently a 1977 record that was never released, finally seeing the light of day.
Maybe because they didn't know what side to land on.
Maybe so.
There's also End of the Middle by Richard Dawson, Grand Man by Rusty Williams, and your big release on the week, getting into
Sure.
everyone's ears, Automatic by the Lumineers.
Yeah.
Yes, those
Yes.
Lumineers.
Those Lumineers. A quick note about Rusty Williams. This is Haley Williams's grandfather. There was some news stories this week, or not this week, this late last year about how she was helping him finish and produce an album of music that he had started when he was younger and never actually released. So yeah, she did her grandpa a solid, and it's now something that you can go and listen to.
Well, you know what they say in the music industry? You have your whole life to make your first record,
It's true.
but only 3 years to make your second. So get to work, Rusty.
Wow, got him.
God, because
Anyway.
you got to keep making records if you want to make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You know, when you do segues like that, it makes it really hard to do the clips. I'm just letting you
So
know.
I ride these segues perfectly,
Yep. Little
as
buzzing
perfect as a
here in your
segue can
segue.
ride.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, we're in 2025, and the list of 14 performers, nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class have been introduced,
Yep.
including 8 candidates who will appear on the ballot for the first time, including some surprises that range from previously overlooked Twist popularizer Chubby Checkers
Yes, as
to
in
the
the twist.
uh well, come on, baby. You just
Yeah.
gotta do the twist.
Let's do the twist. Yeah, like they did
Yeah,
last summer.
yeah, it goes like this. To the Latin rock group Mana, to the jam band Fish.
Yeah.
So other artists who are being put up for election for the first time are Outcast, Hey Yeah, Billy Idol, Bad Company, Joe Cocker, and the Black Crows.
Yep.
The remaining 6 nominees, announced Wednesday morning, are making up some repeat ballot appearances. Those being Mariah Carey, currently, I think, on tour, Oasis,
Hmm.
that hasn't been canceled yet. Definitely not on tour, The White Stripes. Just ending the tour, Cyndi Lauper. And I don't think they're ever going to go on tour again. Joy Division / New Order and Soundgarden.
Yeah. So we'll do what we usually do with these nominees, and who do we think is deserving here? My eyes immediately think about, well, Chubby Checker, just the legacy there, is pretty impressive. Fish, the fact that they've never been nominated before is kind of surprising. They've existed for decades now. Outcast would be an interesting one. Not necessarily something you'd traditionally think of as Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they had a pretty deep impact on hip hop and rap culture, as well as kind of ushering in the age of the Atlanta like rap sound. So there's that. Um, Oasis makes some sense, and Soundgarden is one that I feel like should already be there. So especially after the passing of Chris Cornell.
Right. I mean, yes, to Chubby Checkers, kind of weird thing being like, oh, by the way, he's like not in the Hall of Fame. Like,
It's
that
not.
doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
okay. I'd like to see Mana in there because while they may not be popular within the United States, they are huge outside
Mhm.
in the global sphere.
I could see it.
Uh,
I could totally
I
see it.
could see it. I could see Outcast, like you mentioned, and probably Oasis before Soundgarden. Cyndi
Yeah.
Lauper's like right on that bubble there. Where like, yes, I can see it happening. Same with Billy
Yeah.
Idol. It's like, yes, I can see it happening. They want to stick to the rock and roll part of the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
but don't remember, it's not the Hall of really, really good performers.
Right.
It's the Hall of Fame.
An interesting one here is the White Stripes. I mean, if you think about the impact of just Nation Army by itself and how it's literally in every sports event in the world now. Maybe that's worth it.
For one song.
I'm not saying just for that one song. Obviously, they have a library of hits. I could just name them right now, but by itself, it's quite a statement. It's like, like on a level of popularity that most bands never see.
Right, but much like with most Hall of Fames in the sports section, you get X amount of years. Like you just clearly get years and years and years out. So if you don't get it the first time you're nominated,
Right.
you can just, roll over the next year. Next year. It's one of those things where like, yes, we'll eventually put you in. Just like, yes, Leonardo DiCaprio eventually got his Oscar.
Right. So we'll keep an
Just like
eye on
Timothée
this as
Chalamet
this.
will eventually get his Oscar.
Yes. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on this and yeah, we'll have an update, I'm sure, when later in the year we find out who will be inducted.
Uh, but the actual inductions usually don't happen until October.
Yeah, end of the year. So
Yep. Right. Did you listen to anything?
no major releases. I did finally get around to listening to some of the aforementioned Lana Deluxe SOS. I got, but it's the new songs almost are as long, I think almost like exactly as long as the old songs. And so I got about halfway through disc one of that thing, the new stuff, before I had to do something else. So other than that, though, nothing really new to talk about.
All right. Well then, let's go into video games, where we start with new releases, including Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6 remastered for everything. Wide release. You got it. You can play it.
I just want to note real quick that if you're questioning this and be like, wait, what? It's because these games were not originally known by their numbered entries. They're doing that in as a kind of retcon here. They all had their subtitles. So I think
Mhm.
that starts with Angel of Darkness, I believe was 4, quote unquote, and it was a PS2 game. And I think this goes through the rest of the PS2 era, I think. I don't know if this touches the PS3 360 era or not. I don't know enough about Tomb Raider to know.
Well, when we put the numbers there, it kind of
Yeah.
defeats the whole purpose of chaptered selections.
Yeah, but definitely pre-reboot. So you're not everything before the 2012, 2013 Tomb Raider reboot.
Mhm. Uh, well, we also have Lost Records, Bloom, and Rage, Tape 1 for the PS5, Xbox Series X, and the PC.
I am very sad actually that this is coming out now because I was looking forward to this game, but I feel like I need to go back and finish Life is Strange before I play this. I know they're not exactly the same thing. But I just feel like, oh, I should have probably finished that way before I invest myself into another narrative game. So yeah, I'm kind of upset. But
Well,
maybe this gives me a reason to wait until all the parts are out.
I was saying this is Tape 1, so
Yeah.
there are more tapes.
Yep.
We also have The Legend of Heroes, Trails Through Daybreak 2 for the PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. And then your big release that hopefully lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Avowed for the PC and the Xbox Series X.
So this is out on Game Pass on Tuesday. It's an
Mhm.
early access release right now, which means if you pre-ordered the deluxe edition, you have already played it. Um, Starting today. But I will get my hands on this on Tuesday. I will talk about it next week on the show, guaranteed. I'm definitely excited to check it out. This is Obsidian making another RPG. The last time they did like first person RPG in the kind of the Bethesda style. This is the first time they've done this since New Vegas, I think. So over a decade and a half practically. So it's very exciting to see them back in this kind of style of game. Reviews hit today and they're a little mixed, but edging towards the positive. It seems like people are very hot on the combat system, especially, and first person combat is very difficult to do well. So I am fascinated with what this game feels like to play.
Right, because I believe the Outer Wilds, which they also did, was third person, not first
That's not
person.
them. Or is it them? Yes, it is
It's
them.
them.
You're right. You're right. I forgot. Then I stand corrected. I totally forgot about the Outer Worlds.
Well, I believe it was Outer Worlds or Outer Wilds because they're two different
No,
games
they're not
that
Outer
came out the same
Wilds.
year.
They're not Outer Wilds. They're Outer Worlds. And you're right. I was wrong. They did put out Outer Worlds, which is more closer to Fallout than it is um uh this fantasy kind of setting which they're doing with
Hmm.
Avowed. Um Regardless, still very interested in it.
All right. Well, because Avowed is an Xbox game, they were not a part of this past week's PlayStation State of Play.
Yes.
The third parties,
Yes.
as it was not explicitly said, but that's basically what it was, with a lot of announcements from third party developers.
Yeah.
This is not in the order they were released or
No,
necessarily talked about.
what I did was I put the biggest news at the top, a couple of important release dates, and then the rest because I did not watch this. I was at work, and unfortunately, Wednesdays are the day I'm actually in the office, so I could not watch this. So I don't know anything about these. So I'm hoping you watch this to tell me about some of these other games that were discussed.
I watched it and was surprised at how much 2025 leases were coming out.
Okay.
But this first game we're going to talk about is not coming out this year.
No.
It's a 2026 release, but it's from House Marquee, the same people who made Returnal, and it looks like they're back at it with another Deathloop game. Because they announced
Saros.
Saros, Sarosaurus Rex. It's a Souls-like shooter because
Yes.
Returnal was also a shooter.
I thought Returnal was really cool. It was really hard,
It was
and I
hard.
couldn't get very far into it. But when I did play of it, I really enjoyed, and I get why people loved it as much as they did. This is an interesting kind of twist on the formula. It's similar in that it is also a shooter. However, I mentioned Souls-like because people just assumed it was going to be a roguelike like Returnal was, but no, apparently that's not the case. It seems like it's more of the Souls style, if you die, you have to get your corpse kind of vibe. Like it's very much like not a roguelike in the way that you're getting more powerful in that same kind of way
Hmm.
over the course of multiple games. It's a little different than that.
Yeah, and it's only a brief teaser shown of Saros
Yeah.
in a very like golden-esque vibe. It looked interesting, looked cool, but also as soon as it started, I got really like heavy Death Stranding vibes because it looked like
Sure.
in the middle of like a beach setting, fighting this unknown monster. Hey, like this big like Halo angelic like guardian,
Yeah.
and you just keep shooting at it. And I was like, okay, you're not saying anything, but it looks really neat. So it was like, okay, I'm maybe interested, but now that you tell me it's Souls like, I'm like, okay, let me take two steps back over here, away from the pyre.
I mean, it might not be all the way in that direction. So yeah, I think this is definitely going to be something that we'll probably learn a whole lot more about later and then feel a little bit more confident in what we feel about it.
So if you're all done playing Elden Ring and screwing about it, come get some Saros next year.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, like you said, we do also have a couple of dates coming out this year for games, including Metal Gear Solid Delta, colon, Snake Eater set, coming on 8/28. 28, 28, 28, 28, 28. Nope, nope, you have to wait 3 years. Just 8/28, 2025.
It's just Snake Eater because this is the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And yeah, August for that one, which, yeah, that makes sense. Good late summer game, early fall.
We also got the date for Borderlands for set for 9/23.
As Borderlands 4.
Yeah, set for 9/23. That's what I said.
Yes.
How else did you hear it?
You're saying these weird. Yeah, that's a September. for Borderlands 4. Still, even after some new footage, still, I don't know yet. I feel like I was
Uh,
burned last time.
it feels like the Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 1 because there's no like overarching dialogue. There's no like hint of like what the narrative's gonna be. So it
Yeah.
feels like hey, you like Borderlands. It looks like Borderlands. It's gonna play like Borderlands. Come
Yeah.
buy Borderlands. But we're not gonna
They
tell you with jack shit about what it is.
was that a pun?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, I think that at this point they know that this franchise kind of sells itself. Three did just as well as the previous two did, and sales wise, I don't think they're worried about it at all. But yeah, it's a Borderlands game, and it's all we know. I think you're right. Like it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with the narrative once they're ready to tell us.
Right,
But
because it definitely felt like 3 was a very send-off finale.
yes and no. I didn't get that vibe from the end of that game as much.
Well, I mean, okay, so the whole world like Pandora and the world of Borderlands, that's, yes, it does open itself up for any possibilities, but the way
Yeah.
like the narrative kind of ended and wrapped, it felt like it was a closed narrative for those
Yeah, for those
people,
characters. I
those
wouldn't be
characters.
surprised if this is not necessarily a reboot fully, but like, yeah, this is just like they're clearing the slate, and being like new heroes, new plot, like new villains, everything, which is
Hmm.
probably what they need to do because that stuff did get a little stale.
Yep. All right, and next up we have the rest.
Yes.
Yes, the best of the rest, including Onimusha, Way of the Sword,
Yep.
the
Remake.
2.5D
Yes.
side-scrolling adventure.
No, that's not the 2.5D one. This is Onimusha's the remake of the PS2 era game,
Oh, I'm thinking of Shinobi Art of Vengeance. That's the
which
one
is
I'm
later on
thinking of.
this list. Yes.
Yes. Well, let's name them both here since they're both based practically the same game here.
Yes.
Well, they're not the same game, but
But
uh get your samurai swords out, get your ye old weapons out, and let's go kill them.
exactly.
We also have Tides of Annihilation, which, in my opinion, was the best looking game here.
Okay.
Uh, no idea what it's about. I like being in the dark about this, but I really love the title and I like the art
Sure.
style.
Okay.
We also have Days Gone Remastered for $10.
I think it's hilarious that they're doing this because Days Gone was not a critical like darling. It was kind of panned when it was released, and it does not have a great legacy. And so the fact that they're putting out a remake of that before Bloodborne, the one everybody wants, is very, very funny to me.
Yeah, but you can get the PS5 version for $10 if you got the PS4 version,
Yeah,
or
which
if you got the PS4 like or PS5
yeah.
free version, or
Yeah, which is what I was gonna say. I think everybody got if they were an OG PS5
the like
owner.
the classics. When you got the
I think it's
PS5
in
like
there.
classics, it was part of that
So
collection.
so $10.
$10 for a remastered. We also have Mindside. I
Yep.
forget which one this one was.
I don't know.
Oh, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Mindside the Portal shooter?
Possibly. That sounds right.
I want to say that's one that one was. We also have Warriors, Abyss.
A Dynasty Warriors spinoff, I believe.
Yes. Speaking of spin-offs, Sonic gets a car in Sonic Racing, Cross Worlds.
I saw someone point out a very unfortunate fact about this, that if the footage that they showed at the Switch 2 reveal is to be believed, this might come out right after a new Mario Kart, which might be bad timing for Sonic.
I
But
mean, isn't
who
it
says?
always that Sonic comes after Mario?
Yeah, guess so.
Mario always gets there first. We also have Liza P DLC.
Yep, new DLC for Lies of P. People like that game. Another Souls-like experience. So
Mhm.
there you go.
WWE 2K25, where they showed off The Island,
Yeah.
aka their 50-person open world adventure game. online adventure where you can fight against any of the other 50 players on said island
Just seems
and
like they're
become the tribal chief.
it just seems like they're Fortniting it. Like, isn't that basically what's happening? Like it's
No, no, they're doing like 2K NBA 2K like streets
uh,
or like
uh
the background whatever they call it.
actually, you know what that kind of
City.
reminds me of? Remember the thing they did in
Same thing. Yeah.
Street Fighter 5?
Yeah, where you can like walk around
Six?
like challenge
Sorry,
people.
6. Yeah, Street Fighter 6, where they were like you could walk around the city.
Yeah, you can fight people or you can like
Yeah,
you challenge them in older Street Fighter games.
it's a neat idea.
Same thing here. Yeah. Fully customizable character you can have walking around. So
Cool.
that's always good and fun. So here we talked about that one. We have Metal Eden, and Lost Soul Aside, and Directive 8020. Those were the three new games that they showed
Yeah.
off here at the State of Play.
Yep.
Uh, and I want to say Directive 8020 was the space one.
Yes.
I don't remember the other two.
There were a lot of games,
Yeah, there's a lot of games, including some that they showed previously. Monster Hunter Wilds,
which
which
is weeks away from coming out, I
so
think.
wait,
It's very
yeah, so
soon.
like that one's around the corner, and Split Fiction, which I would still keep smiling every time I see that game.
Yeah, I mean you're someone who really likes those co-op games. So that makes sense.
Yep, and same people who did the divorce game.
Yeah. Yes. It takes two. Yes.
Yes, what I said, the divorce game.
The divorce game. Yeah.
Everyone, yeah, everyone's game of the year of divorce. It takes two.
Divorce game of the year.
Technically what it is. Yeah, and then down here you have some little stuff scribbled down here.
Yeah.
Dreams of Another, Darwin's Paradox, The Midnight Walk, Hell is Us, and Five Nights of Freddy's, Secret of Min, of the Mimic.
I know this is not what this is, but I really want Hell Is Us to be a sequel to This Is Us,
That's what I was thinking
where
too.
they're all dead. Anyway.
I mean, it's a great story to have the game told a non-linear way too.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Anyway.
Anyways,
So
yeah,
overall,
lots of
how did you
games announced at
yeah,
State of Play. Lots of
how
stuff
did
that looks good. Lots of stuff that said was coming out this year. There's a lot of 2025 dates, which I was happy to see, but
hmm,
also felt a bit overwhelming because it's like, oh, this is where all the games were that were supposed to come out like last year and 2023 and
yes.
2022.
I
We were
mean
like, where are the games?
this is exactly what happened with Microsoft Showcase, right? Where it's just like all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. Oh, that's why it's been a couple of down years because they had a bunch of stuff that they were waiting on. And now we're seeing it. 25 seems to be the year. Yeah, like you said, everything's getting finished and getting pushed out the door at long last. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really strong year.
Yeah, all right in time before the Switch 2 comes out in the holiday
Yes.
season.
Yeah. Get stuff out now before these tariffs come in. I think is kind of the vibe, right? Like just make sure we can actually afford all of these games.
Wait, they can't dare DLC, electronic game.
Yeah, digital stuff maybe we're okay, but I think all the prices go up and physical prices go up. So yeah, that's there's the risk there.
You're right. I forgot. They're all getting ahead of GTA 6 coming out later this
That
year.
too. Yeah, like I said, big year.
Yep, the $100 GTA 6.
We'll see.
All right. Did you play anything?
I did jump in a little bit of Infinity Nikki just to catch up on some things. I've finished all the content from the last couple of like event updates. Finally, I like caught up on all that
You
stuff.
did Fireworks Island?
Yeah, so now it's just a matter of going back to the Eureka grind and trying to beat the sovereigns, which I did. I've won. I have the elegant sovereign down, and then I just need to get the three other ones for the
I
Arosa outfit.
I just did all of those.
Okay, I'm
I
a little
just did all the
behind you.
sovereigns, and now I realized, oh, I have to go and upgrade my abilities in order to like capture like the better fish and the
Yeah.
buddy fluss. I was like, oh. That's why these people are here, so to easily upgrade my stuff.
Yes,
That makes
yes.
more sense now.
Right, yeah. The game
Instead
does
of like
have
trying to
solutions
grind
to
and
these
like do it one
problems.
by one by one by one.
Right. There's some stuff that eases the grinding, but it does feel a little grindy this part of the game, unfortunately.
Yes, but looking at everything, it seems like after we like unlock this special outfit, a lot more of the game unlocks because looking ahead, it seems like it's like, oh, continue on the main it now says continue on the main story instead of you're not available yet.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
was like,
There's gonna
oh,
be a lot of that.
there's a lot more than like where we're at now. So that's good to
Yeah.
see.
And then, like I said, next week I'll talk about Avowed. So look forward to that.
Mhm. Well then, if that's it for the video games,
Yep.
let's move over to the television section.
Yes.
And we start over with the sports corner.
Yep. And it's that time for the biggest sports corner of the year because we have to talk about the big game.
Yes, the superb owl himself came down and whipped Mahomes' butt.
Yeah, did you see this coming? Because I feel like everyone was roundly surprised with how dominant the Eagles were in this game.
I think what was most surprising was that the Chiefs never got started.
Yeah.
They had just over 100 yards going into the third quarter in like very low, well, it was low scoring game, but eventually came a blowout
Yeah.
by the Eagles because okay, to be fair, Mahomes did throw a touchdown pass in the first half.
Yeah.
It was just happens to be to the rookie on the Eagles.
Yeah, the pick six was when that happened. I was like, "Oh, this is what this game's gonna be." Okay, and then I
Yep,
had to kind of like tweak my head. Yeah, of course, the theory that has been the case for several Super Bowls now is like, "Oh, well, just wait until the second half, then Mahomes will go off." And you're right, it just didn't happen in the way that it's happened in the past. He just didn't. He didn't get that like turbo boost that we expect out of him.
yep. And this does prove the theory that Patrick Mahomes cannot win a game when Tom Brady is in the building.
I guess so. He's specter haunted
Yep, he's
the
just sitting
game.
there being big old daddy, watching his kid out there messing it all up. Like you can
Yeah.
never be like me.
Yeah, and Travis Kelsey also. It wasn't just Mahomes, just like I feel like
Linked, yeah.
just nothing going on with that offensive line. It was just like a weird game.
I know. It's as if like the Eagles had 2 weeks to study and prepare to
Yeah,
face the Chiefs and knew exactly what they
yeah.
were going to do the entire time.
And also had faced them already in the Super Bowl and knew exactly what they did wrong the last time. So
Exactly.
yeah, there's a lot of factors. But yeah, it
I
was
will say this
entertaining
though,
at
the
least.
Chiefs did one thing correctly, which was
Mhm.
stop Saquon Barkley.
Yes, that is true.
Unfortunately, the Eagles also had Jalen Hurts and a bunch of like really, really good receivers to throw the ball around.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, Jalen Hurts was your MVP. Congratulations. I believe the Eagles parade is tomorrow in the city of brotherly shove.
They did it at the Super Bowl. It happened. I saw a brotherly shove for the first time. I was like, oh,
Yes, they
okay.
just pushed their way to victory
Yeah.
just when we did our workout. Oh, did I tell you send you that? We did workouts during the game because we were so like expecting it to be such a boring game, which it kind of
Wow.
was.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of exciting, but I don't know.
When you're running for offense, and offense doesn't happen for one team, yes, it is kind of boring.
I guess so.
But yeah, congratulations, Eagles. I mean, on the bright side, no three-peat in the league. On the
Yeah,
bad side, we have to wait 2 more years for that to happen, and it would be the Eagles who would be the three-peaters.
it could be. I mean, it remains to be seen if they can remain such a strong team going into the next season. That's the thing about football, right? Is that it's very the reason why a three-peat hasn't happened is because of how much turnover there is in the game, whether it be injuries, whether it be trades, whatever you have. It's like it
Whether it
seems
is
like
Mahomes throwing more picks,
yeah,
turnovers just everywhere.
Dynasties are hard to come by in the NFL. They're not, it's not like the MLB or the NBA where you can lock down that talent for 10 years.
Right, because it's even harder to lock down a special QB,
Yes.
especially one who likes to go into the dark and retreat away from the world. And especially when you have a new head coach coming in who doesn't like your current quarterback. That's right.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers is officially
Ugh.
leaving the Jets. He's out of New
Good
York and
riddance.
probably going to Minnesota
Ugh.
just to follow the steps of Favre, because of course he is. Yeah, no word on where Aaron Rodgers is going to go, but the two-time NFL MVP is currently teamless going into next year. So maybe he'll just go over to the Giants and not leave New York because they need a quarterback, clearly. But with Aaron Rodgers going somewhere, we also have new head coaches. So, as is the coaching carousel in the NFL, we have new coaches coming into next year, which means they get to
Yeah.
finally make their picks in the upcoming draft. Kellen Moore from the Eagles is going to be the next Saints head coach. Brian
Okay.
Schottenheim of the Schottenheimer clan is going to be the next Cowboys head coach. The recently retired and now unretired Pete Carroll of the Seahawks is going to be the Raiders head coach.
Sure.
Liam Cohen, not that Cohen, is going to be the Jaguars head coach. I don't know why I have this backwards, but the Jets is going to be the head coach of Aaron Glenn because he's not going to coach that team. Uh, Ben Johnson is going to be the head coach of the Bears. And as was always foretold by the great Belichick himself when he wrote
Yes.
it into the ground of the catacombs of Gillette Stadium, Mike Vrabel comes home to become the Patriots head coach,
Yep.
as was foretold.
Yes.
All right. Now that we got next year taken care of, we
Mm.
forgot the best thing about the Super Bowl. Well,
Yeah, I
we
mean,
kind of saved it
we
to
could do
last,
that
but
now, or we could wait until thoughts. It's up to you.
uh, let's do it now while we're talking about it.
Okay, I just figured since you had already moved on from the Super Bowl that we would just table it until later. But yeah,
Okay,
we
let's
didn't talk
table it
about
to
the
later.
halftime show or the commercials.
Yeah. Kendrick Lamar performed. I guess that's the only new
Yeah,
music I did listen to this weekend then.
yeah. I mean, yeah. What is there to say about this performance that hasn't already been said a billion times on the internet? This thing lit the world on fire. This was a cultural moment, I think, for a lot of people. Kendrick Lamar showed up. He didn't do a lot of hits, but he did do some things that I think really just made an impact on people. It was an entertaining show. There was something constantly happening. There's a lot of visual, like cool stuff. There were surprises, including Serena Williams showing up, and the highlight, of course, with Kendrick looking straight into the camera when he said Drake's name. When he did Not Like Us, because of course he did. Just a stellar, electrifying vibe from this thing, and it just kept people talking for a week and change. Like still out there talking about it.
Definitely a step up from last year, which was Rihanna.
I like the Rihanna one, but yeah, this was definitely better.
Wait, no, sorry. Rihanna was 2 years ago.
Oh,
Usher was last year.
sure, right,
Definitely a step up from Usher.
with the roller skates and the
Yes.
shirtlessness. Yes,
But yeah, well done by Kendrick Lamar.
yeah,
I think it's a lot of time people who watch the Super Bowl probably listen to his music. I think him winning the Grammys and being promoted as Grammy winning artist was definitely helpful. Sam
yeah.
Jackson introducing everything. Did not expect that, but hey, it's your Uncle Sam.
It was
Next.
really neat. It was a cool way to kind of frame it because the question, of course, was going into this is like, okay, so you're putting Kendrick Lamar at the halftime show of like the biggest like American spectacle. Typically a very conservative vibe, especially if you consider the ads, which we'll talk about later. Um, and the fact that the president was there, presumably watching this, unless he bailed beforehand. I know that he bailed at some point. I don't know if it was before or after the halftime show. Um, so yeah, a lot to consider here. Getting somebody so iconoclastic and opinionated as Kendrick Lamar. And it was interesting how he used kind of that framing device because it was definitely a political statement, but it wasn't an overt one. It definitely seemed like it was a subtle, there was subtle winks and nods with the Sam Jackson stuff that kind of hinted at, yes, he knows what he's doing. Yes, this is a commentary on a black performer being on such a huge American stage. And I think it did a really good job of doing that with its subtlety. I don't think if he was to do something any louder or more specific than that, whether it would have sunk in a little bit more. Like he obviously didn't do any of the more pointed political things in his catalog like he could have. He could have done several different songs that he's written about the actual like about black experience, about that kind of politically charged material, and he chose not to. Um, so it was interesting to see how he kind of framed it. It was subtle, but it worked. I thought it worked for me.
Yeah, I had a fun time watching. I was always curious as to like what was happening next, where they were going across the field. I like when an artist uses the entire feet of the
Yes.
field, running
Yes.
back and forth with all those performers. So yeah, I think it was a job well done. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
absolutely. One of the best I think that they've done in a long, long time. So certainly.
Yep. And then there's a reason everyone else who doesn't watch the game watches the game for the ads.
Yeah, less so this year, I will say. There were very few highlights for me personally. I thought it was very funny that Angelsoft bought 30 seconds for people to go to the bathroom. That was very nice of them. And and I was most baffled, but it did get a laugh out of me with the Mountain Dew seal as a seal thing.
I I was surprised that they were like, oh, so they're actually gonna do this?
Yeah. Yep.
And then I was like, oh yeah, why not? They already did Puppy Monkey Baby, so
Uh,
seal is a seal. Why not? Just
seal
lean
as
right
a
into
seal.
it. Lead to the absurdity.
Any highlights from you?
The Nike ad, the Nike women's sports ad,
I did like that.
highlight the uh flag football ad right after the Super Bowl or right after the halftime show. I thought that was really good. Usually they do a NFL like plays right after the Super
Right.
Bowl ad or after the halftime ad.
Right after
So that was
halftime.
always fun to see. Uh Other highlight I'd have to say would be I don't know, it's like kind of meh this year.
Yeah.
Wasn't like a lot of celebrity cameos.
Too many. Way
Many, I
too
think.
many. I think having them back to back to back to back to back like that really made you more aware of it, I think, this year as opposed to prior years.
Hmm.
It just felt like every brand's idea was, well, if we just pack 4 or 5 celebrities in this thing, people will remember our ad. And you know what? It backfired because I can't tell you who was in which one.
The only I could tell you who was in which one was the Dunkin' ad because the first one that played at the first commercial that played, and then it
Yeah.
was a sequel of the same ad they've been running, or the same like continually like storyline they've been running for the past 3 Super Bowls or 4 Super Bowls now with Ben Affleck, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll never see this commercial ever again.
Yeah. The problem with that is that it's getting so long ago now. I don't remember what the setup was. Like,
The setup was that he was just doing it in Dunkin' Donuts like as a voice on the like the drive-through, but like no one recognized that it was his voice or like who he
right.
was at the drive-through. That was the original setup. It was like, oh, you're just the Dunkin' employee, not realizing that it's Ben Affleck.
It's incredibly forgettable. And so
Yep,
didn't do
that's why we're
much
talking
for
about it
me.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty forgettable ads elsewhere.
Yeah,
Not a whole
that
lot of
year.
movie trailers that I would have expected.
No, not that many there. And like, and yes, last year we had all the NFT ads. This year we had all the or sorry, not NFT, cryptocurrency ads. This year we had
Mhm.
all the AI ads, which is not an upgrade.
Right. Not a whole lot of QR codes being thrown on screen.
Thankfully, yeah, that's a move towards a positive move, I think.
Yep. Speaking of positive moves, we're going to move to a
Yes.
positive direction because when
Yes.
the NFL ends, the next sport begins.
Indeed.
It's baseball season.
Just about, almost.
Pitchers and catchers will be reporting to spring training between today and tomorrow, as of this recording,
Yes.
with everyone reporting to spring training by next week, Monday.
Yes. It's
So
happening.
it's happening. Get
And we
get your
still don't know
sunscreen on.
how
Go to
we're
the Grape League.
watching.
Go to the Cactus League.
Yeah. And we
Get your
still don't know
stretches
how
on.
we're yeah, and we still don't know how we're watching these on television.
Nope.
The
We still
Diamond
those
Sports stuff
2025 contracts.
has been a total disaster. We are a week away when these things are supposed to start being televised, and we still don't know.
Well, because it's spring training. They're just gonna be like, oh, put it on Amazon. We don't care.
Some of us do still care about
I know
spring
some of
training
us care.
games.
Just like I'm sure some people still care about the NBA All-Star, which is
Yeah.
occurring this weekend, as I found out while I was looking up, like, oh, when is it? And yeah, so we have the Rising Stars game and the Celebrity game tomorrow on Valentine's Day. It's Friday. Then we'll have the skills and the dunk competition on Saturday with the All-Star tournament on Sunday. That's right, the NBA is doing its own format change, where instead of two teams of East and West playing against each other, or two captains, we're having a 4-team, 8-player mini tournament
Sure.
featuring the hosts of TNT inside the NBA with Charles Barkley and his global stars, Shaq with his OGs, Kenny Smith with his young stars, and Candace Parker with those rising stars.
All right. Who has the advantage?
Shaq because they're all big name OGs, but
Yeah.
if I had to put my money somewhere, I'd go with probably the young stars or the rising stars because this could be like their big shot. They're in the All-Star game. They're gonna go
Yeah.
all out instead of these what's been the class of the NBA All-Star game, which is yeah, we're just gonna go around, we're just gonna shoot around. It's like this game doesn't really matter. So here, you shoot a three, you bake a dunk, you do a windmill. Let's like put up 180 points against each other. No one plays defense.
Yep.
And then similarly, NHL is going to do its own tournament with the Four Nations Face Off. That
Yep.
starts
Started
yesterday.
last
It's already
night.
started. It's
Yes.
already going.
Yes.
Yep. So that is currently happening. All Stars weekends.
Yes.
It's happening.
Basketball and hockey abound, so there will be some sports to watch this weekend if you're a sports fan. So yeah, get to it.
All right.
All right, anything else in
Yeah.
sports?
Uh yes. NASCAR
Yes, you mentioned this
starts
last
on
week.
Sunday.
Yes.
Start your engines. Daytona 500 is coming on Sunday.
Yeah, Daytona 500, SNL 50. What a day of television.
Yes. What a great day for NBC or Fox or whatever.
Truly. All right, cool. Well, with that, then, if that's it for sports, we can then go to television news where we're, surprise, also going to talk about sports,
Man,
but
who keeps
sports
picking all these sports
on,
stories?
I don't know, maybe you. But yes, but not just regular sports, Olympic sports, as our favorite show of 2024 is about to make its comeback. Yes, Gold Zone will return next year for the Winter Olympics from Milan, Italy in 2026. But the proceedings are going to have a lot more than a soupçon of plans used recently in Paris, France. very funny. Whoever wrote this story. It's not you.
No, it's not me.
You can't take credit for that Supersonic joke. NBC clearly hopes that its recent Paris Olympics telecast, which hinged on making the games available for instant consumption while utilizing primetime in new ways that included ties to celebrity and pop culture, will serve as a model for future rounds of the global spectacle. Peacock will serve up every sport live, 116 medal events, while offering a suite of interactive features, full event replays, and curated video clips. Gold Zone, which they call a whip around show that takes viewers to live moments of interest as they happen, and which debuted for the Paris Games, will return. NBC Universal said in July that it expected to bring in more than $1.25 billion in advertising tied to the Paris Olympics. I'm sure they're hoping for similar numbers for winter. So, yeah, already locked in. We're ready for another round of Gold Zone, this time in chilly Milan.
Yes. Winter Gold Zone is here, slaloming between each event, going this way and that way
Yes.
and this way and that way.
Yes. Unfortunately, we do have to wait an entire calendar year for this to actually happen.
Yes, it is in 2026.
Yes.
Uh, so I'm glad they're bringing it back. I'm glad it was such a success because, yeah, Gold
Yep.
Zone was our favorite show of last year.
Against
Even
all
though it wasn't around
odds.
for 2 weeks, I'm glad we get a season two.
Yes. So there you go. More to come.
Yes, and hopefully Peacock will stay around through next year and not go under.
Hopefully. All right. That's it for television news. We already talked about our TV thoughts, unless you have more television to talk about.
Still watching Paradise, still watching The Pit, still watching Severance.
Okay. So we'll tune back in once you finish those up.
I did not watch Le Fleur season 3 after the NFL. That's Super
No,
Bowl.
no, I did not either. More accurately, I didn't watch whatever Lauren Graham show they served me on Tubi after it was over. Because I watched it on Tubi. I tried that experience. One cool thing about that is it was broadcast in 4K.
Oh,
It was a nice little perk. I didn't have to pay for it. And it was in 4K. I was like, thank you. Thank you, Tubi.
oh, I
Um,
didn't ask you this, but what'd you think of the new lower third on the Super Bowl?
it looked like a fifth grader made it. Like
Right?
it was just the plainest, most basic, brutalist version of what they could do. The brutalist in theaters now. But
Yes.
yeah, it was weird.
All right.
Anyways, let's move
Thank you. I'm
on
not
then.
alone in that.
Yeah, no. Let's move on to cancellations and renewals then.
What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching Prime Video's The Predeps of Pittsburgh. Are you sure this isn't Predeeps? Because that's a name I've heard of. Uh,
Is it
I'll go with
Pradeeps? I thought
Predeps.
I wrote it down as Pradeps.
Predeps. I don't know what this is. But yeah, The Predeps of Pittsburgh has been canceled after one season. I have no idea. But meanwhile, on Prime Video, something is coming back. The
You're right.
Lord,
It is
the
Pradeeps of
Predeeps.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, that's
It was written down wrong,
I got it.
or I did was the extra E.
Yeah, no worries. But yes, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which you called Rigs of Power, which is very funny. There we go. Rings of Power is coming back for a third season on Prime Video.
Are you thinking about a bunch of power rigs?
Yeah, just like
Just mighty trucks rolling everywhere.
yeah, these trucks come in. Like all the hobbits are like, what are those? Anyways,
The ring
all
is a
right,
lug nut.
that's yeah, somehow. Little
That's it.
cog.
Lord of the Rings, but they're trucks.
But they're trucks. That's your pitch.
Get me $100,000, $100 billion, and Peter Jackson. I got a movie idea.
Yeah, pitch that to Peacock. Keep them alive. All right. That's it for cancellations and renewals. Let's move into the last section of the show. We're trucking through this one. Speaking of trucks, we have movies next, and we always start movies with the weekend box office numbers. Okay. I have something to say about last week. You made a bet for me, which I feel like was unfair
Okay.
because regardless of whether I won or lost, I didn't actually get to say in what I voted on. So I think this point that you have taken from me and put to yourself should be revoked.
Oh, I didn't make any point movements yet.
Oh, you didn't. Well, I'm saying that because I was not present when the bet was made, the bet does not have like that's not a shake. Like I didn't shake on that.
Okay, well, to be fair, neither of our films were the number one movie.
That's true. But it was about the money, I thought. I thought that's what you had said on the show. Yes,
Yeah,
I
it was about
actually listened this
who's
time.
gonna make more.
Well, yeah. Regardless, yes, there was no bet made, but it was interesting to see what happened, as you said, with two Valentine's themed movies to see which one, the horror or the romance, would succeed. And yeah, you got
The answer
that
is
much
neither,
right,
actually.
turns out. But yes, your number one movie was still Dogman, because turns out kids still wanted to see it. And pardon, it made another $13 million this week. That's at 54 million domestic. Number two, Hard Eyes made $8.3 million in its debut. Number four, Love Hurts made, wait,
That's number three.
number
Love
three,
hurts.
your typo again. You
So many typos.
need an editor for these.
I know.
Uh, Love Hurts is your number three movie with $5.8 million in its debut. Then number four is Mufasa the Lion King, which only made $4 million this week. That's at 235. And Companion, which made $3 million at number five with 15 million total so far.
Yes, but with that $4 million from Mufasa the Lion King, that puts it at 235, and that does put it above Sonic.
Yes,
Finally.
finally, a movie that came out weeks and weeks before finally made more money than the other movie. Wow. What do you know? All right. Yes, we will update our scores next week because here are your new releases going into Valentine's Day weekend, which also has the benefit of being a holiday weekend thanks to the President's Day holiday on Monday. So that may have an impact here. So, your two movies: Paddington in Peru, the anticipated third movie in the Paddington franchise, which I know someone here in this home is looking forward to with bated breath. And but the big release is, of course, Captain America Brave New World, which I think would have done better if it hadn't met some real awful reviews today. But yes, big new Marvel film that are hoping sparks that Marvel heat again, but sounds like this might not be the one to do it.
No, because the next one's due is going to be Fantastic Four, which
Yes.
will be the one that sparks the rest of
Yeah.
the Marvel phases. But you're
So,
right, because Captain America is a Marvel film, it's expected to be the number
yes.
one movie. That being
Yes.
said, Paddington in Peru is the family movie and it's Valentine's weekend.
What I will say though is I think that Marvel's name is still strong enough where I think this is still your number one movie. I will still say number one. I would be surprised if you didn't.
I mean, I think it's still enough to make it number one.
Yeah.
Although if it does better than The Marvels, which I think only made 90 million in its opening weekend. So
Okay.
does it crack
What do
the
you put it
100?
at? Okay. What do you put it at? 100, you're saying?
For some reason it feels right,
Okay.
even though like you said, poor reviews, Valentine's
Yeah.
weekend, it doesn't like the trailers aren't that all inspiring.
Yeah. This is a tricky one too because the extra weekend makes me feel like I should go higher, but my gut is saying otherwise. So if you put it at 100, I will take under.
Ooh.
I will take under because I think you're not wrong about Paddington, but I don't think Paddington's number one. But what it will do is take some of that audience. And I think that that might keep it from making to that 100 level.
All right, let's put it at 100.
Okay.
Variety is currently saying it's aiming for a $95 million opening.
Okay. So if
On
it
track for 90 million. This was 3 weeks ago.
so if it over succeeds just a tad bit, you will win this. But if it gets where it's targeting or fails to meet the target, then I will take it. So okay,
Right. Well,
I like
this 90 is before
right.
the reviews came out.
Yeah. So okay, we'll see.
All
We'll
right.
see how it goes. But that'll be our bet for next week.
That's a nice even uh bet to make. Oh, does it hit the triple digit mark?
Right, or not. All right. Okay, so those are your new releases. In the meantime, we are fully swept in award season as we are weeks away from the Oscar telecast. But in the meantime, there are other awards to celebrate. First up, the Directors Guild. The DGA held its awards last week, where Anora director Sean Baker surprise won Best Theatrical Feature. Nickel Boys director Ramel Ross won Best First Time Director. And Porcelain War directors Brendan Belomo and Slava Leontiu won Best Documentary Director. The Critics' Choice Awards also happened last week, where Anora won another surprise Best Picture award, but John M. Chu won for Wicked, notably not nominated for the Academy Award. Other winners include Best Actor Adrian Brody, Best Actress Demi Moore, Best Supporting Actor Kieran Culkin, Best Supporting Actress Zoe Saldana, Best Ensemble going to Conclave. Put an asterisk next to that one. We always discuss this upon Oscar time. And Best Score went to Challengers, again, which does not have the Oscar nod. So here's what's coming before we select our Oscar picks. The Writers Guild Awards, which take place this weekend on the 15th, the BAFTA Awards, which are British but include a lot of American films, which take place on the 16th, and the SAG Awards, which again, put an asterisk there too. We will discuss that, especially their Ensemble Award, when it takes place on the 23rd.
Yep.
So, yeah, a lot to consider.
The Oscars are the following week on March 2nd. So, which means we will have to make our predictions not
Yes.
next week, but the following week, the 28th.
Yes, we will lock in. 28th will be our lock-in date for those predictions. So I'll have to do. I think I've already started the spreadsheet, but we'll have to lock in on that spreadsheet
Yep,
by
which
that date.
means next week we will have our winners for the WGA and the BAFTAs.
Mhm.
Uh, and then the following week we'll get our SAG Awards where we'll have our final nominations, our final choices.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fun. I mean, things are starting to take shape, at least in the acting category. Adrian
Yes.
Brody kind of starting to have it on lock. Demi
Looks like it.
Moore starting to have it on lock. Kieran Culkin and Zoe Saldana. It seems like those four are starting to cruise into the Oscars.
Yeah.
Should
Yes.
the SAG or BAFTA shake things up? Maybe BAFTA, but it'd be interesting
Maybe
to see what happens
BAFTA.
with SAG right before because
Mhm.
actors are and always have
Yes.
been and always will be
The
the
biggest voting
biggest
block.
voting block, which
Yeah. It's
is
yeah.
why Best Ensemble going to Conclave is very interesting.
It's interesting, but I wouldn't say that that's a guarantee. I think the race right now, from what I've been able to gather, yeah, you're right about the acting prizes. I think 3 out of 4 of these have been set for a while. I think Adrian Brody is having a little bit of a push right now. And I think you might be right about that. Maybe that is solidifying him in the race. I don't know for sure. But the other three are pretty much guarantees at this point. Um, However, the question now everybody's asking is the bad press over the last couple months enough to push down Amelia Perez? I saw several articles this week suggesting that that's the case, that the it's finally doing damage to the movie's reputation, and what was at a point seen to be a slam dunk best picture is no longer guaranteed. The Brutalist seems to be gaining speed and momentum and might be the one to beat. At least I thought that before I saw these. Honora coming from behind and having a dark horse appearance here
Mhm.
could be possible as well.
Here's the other thing to consider is that while the Brutalist hasn't won best, hasn't taken away the biggest award, it does take it for original screenplay.
Yes.
But for it, and everywhere we've seen it, a Brutalist wins the original screenplay. But also for adapted screenplay, Conclave has been
Yeah.
taking up all those awards. So they're
So yeah,
both really powerful films
and we'll
with
get a
really
better
powerful
idea.
scripts, and
Yes.
only one's getting the ensemble, it looks like.
Yeah. So we'll
I'm
we'll
just
we'll be able
saying,
to
we
put
may have
these.
a surprise Conclave night.
I don't know. I think
Ah,
that's wishful thinking in
isn't
a
that
lot
what
of
Conclave is
ways.
all about? Wishful thinking?
I guess so. Yeah,
All
the
about
more
getting the votes, making sure you have the votes.
I mean, the more that I think about that movie, it does feel like it took place in an alternate universe to our current one. But yes, where that stuff matters. But yeah, there's a lot of pieces that are still not in place. Once we have those pieces, we'll be able to have a better idea of what this picture looks like. But still, it does feel for the first time in a handful of years that this is kind of a 3 or 4 horse race, which is rare these days.
Right, especially
Last
three
year, it
weeks
just
out.
Last year, it just felt like Oppenheimer was destined, and it did end up winning. This year, there's no such movie. Like, I don't know. It could go several ways, and I'm fascinated to find out.
Well, if anything, it means I really do not have to actually watch Amelia Perez and can
Yes.
instead switch my attention to trying to find Honora.
Yeah. Anora is, I believe, digitally available, so you have to pay.
Yes.
But yeah, that and the Brutalist are going to be the hardest, I think, to get a handle on.
Uh, yeah, well, especially because Bruce is still in theaters, but
Yeah.
it's a 3.5 hour film. I don't really have 3.5 hours
I
to
want to
watch
watch that at
something.
home. Like, I'm going to wait and watch that at home, hopefully. But I don't know. There's no guarantee I'll be able to do that before the second. So we'll
Yes.
see. This happened last year too with I forget which movie, but yeah, we're just like, okay, I guess I'm just not gonna see it prior. But anyway. Also, just a fun thing to point out if you're in a place like we are, check your listings for your local art house theater to see if they're showing the shorts. Our local art
Yep.
house theater here in Long Beach is indeed has scheduled out now when they're playing documentary shorts, animated shorts, and a couple of other things, I believe, too. So yes, those are being scheduled. So check your local listings, as they used to say, and see if you can see such a marathon presentation like that. We are probably going to try to go see one of those at least.
Yeah, my local Cinemark is having a couple showings of all the shorts thrown together,
Nice. So yeah,
as
fun
they
times.
always do leading up to the Oscars.
Yes. All right. Well, in that case, that wraps it up for movies. Do you have any thoughts about movies that you watched this week?
Uh, Technically, yes. I watched an old movie. I don't remember if I talked about it last week. I watched Here.
Okay.
I don't think I talked about it last week.
No.
Um, I'll be real brief because it's a movie that came and went by
Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis, starring
Yes.
Tom Hanks and Robin Wright in a movie where the camera stays still, but everything else around it move.
Right.
I liked the concept. I think it's really well done, really funnily executed. I just didn't really agree with the stories that they were telling in between it. A lot of it
Hmm.
felt forced, and a lot of it was like, why? Why now? Why here? Why in this space? Which makes
Yeah,
it feel like a little bit extra forced for me.
sure, sure.
But it was fine. Like I had a okay time watching it, but at the same time, I can see why it's not going to be like a memorable film.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
I just had, I think going into it, I had like higher hopes for it, but
I
it
mean,
just never hit it.
that's been the tricky thing with Robert Zemeckis, right? Is that he's make these big swing movies that whiff more than they hit. And I think
Mhm.
this is just another one of those, unfortunately for him. He just can't make a just a regular ass movie anymore. He needs to these big ideas.
Yeah.
Mm.
Don't worry. We'll still see from the director of Castaway, Forrest Gump, and Back to the Future in the next movie that he makes.
Yes, we'll see. All right. Well, that'll do it then for this week's edition of the Media Boat Podcast. Look at that, a quick one.
Yeah.
We'll be back for the Super Bowl show. That's considerably quick. Like, didn't see that coming. But yes, we'll be back next week for a whole lot more to talk about. Probably some more award news. I'll talk about Avowed. We'll talk about other stuff. I'm sure there's other stuff on this that'll surprise us this week. I am positive of it. But we'll be back next week. Oh yeah, we'll talk about SNL 50. That'll
Yep.
have happened by then, and the Daytona 500. So look forward to all of that and more next week. If you want to watch us in video form, you can go to our YouTube channel, search Media Boat Podcast, and find our channel there. There are clips up of the last couple of weeks of episodes, including Mike's solo show from last week, so you can watch them in bite-sized, little tiny portions in case you don't have an hour to spend on us.
And so
But
that's all you need of me, just a little bite-sized
it's
portion.
like 4 minutes, 12 minutes at longest. So yeah, check those out. I'm pushing this because they take a long time to do that, by the way.
Yeah, well,
For
they actually
something
get more views than our long form
I
podcast too.
noticed this. Yeah, I'm glad they do because yeah, like it's actually a lot of work. So just putting that out
Editing.
there. Yeah, it turns out. It's not even really editing, it's just I have to like I have to figure out where they yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
It's a long story.
where's the actual cutoff? And as you said,
Right.
I segue right into everything.
Yeah, so it just takes some time. But anyway, but yeah, those are out. So enjoy that. There's a whole playlist of just those clips. So check that out, our YouTube channel. You can also find, oh, and yeah, and thanks for the views keep pouring in for that Gossip Girl video. We passed 4K.
Yeah, keep sharing it around.
Thank you. But anyway, we're also in podcast form if you want to do that. Go to any podcast service of your choice and search Media Boat Podcast, and you'll find us there. You can also find us on the web. We're in a myriad of places. Blue Sky, search Media Boat to find us there. MediaBoatPodcast.com, where you can find an archive of our shows, as well as the occasional write-up. No new write-ups this week, but maybe we'll have stuff next week. You can also find us on by emailing us questions, comments, feedback about the show at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. All right, with that, we're gone. We'll be back next time for more news, more thoughts, more everything.
All right, bye.
Bye.